What is good? What is good? What is good? Another video today. I think I'm at like number 114 or something, or 113 in terms of videos here. So we're doing pretty well. Doing pretty well. I hope your Saturday went well yesterday, and actually, honestly, almost all of your Sunday, because I recorded this video much later in the day than I previously thought I would. So there's that. And also, hope you had a great month of July and happy beginning of August 2021 here. 2021 has been a crazy year, and I still remember 2020 and like all the COVID lockdown stuff. And if you think about it, 2021 is actually almost over. We're like 8 months into a 12-month year here. So like think about time like that. Like time is nuts. Yeah, so definitely, I don't know, like, I'm not gonna give you advice or anything on, like, how to think about time, but, like, I'm just gonna say time is nuts there. Yeah, that's crazy. I'm, like, thinking about the implications of that. That's cool. We're gonna talk about more about time here, but more in a history sense in this video. But yeah, happy August. So, yeah, okay. In this one, we're just gonna talk about the post-birth control and floating currencies world. And like I've been thinking about this, like speaking of time and things like that. Like we talk about generations, like who's alive right now. Boomers are alive, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z, and then Gen Alpha is like alive, but they're pretty young. So like mainly those four, the boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. Those like kind of the four main, I guess, generations you would say that are alive and doing shit right now. And the more I kind of learn about stuff, the more I'm thinking that even the boomers kind of got screwed. So the millennials and the Gen Zers, we like to joke and say, oh, the boomers suck, or like, okay, boomer, and like those phrases like that. But the more I learn, the more I'm even like, dang, boomers got like fucked over too. So like I might even stop my like bashing of boomers. I usually just joke about it though, to be 100% honest. Like I don't really bash on boomers like that. But I might even stop joking about, actually to be honest, I'll probably never stop joking about it, is what it is. But I won't have too many hard feelings because even they got screwed. So let's get into the script here. The post-birth control and floating currencies world, even the boomers got screwed. Men going their own way, because that's how we're doing it for now. So we are just understanding the landscape here, so just keep that in mind. Like we're really just trying to understand the landscape, and the more you understand it, like to be honest, I think the more power you have. Hopefully you don't get more nihilistic, although I can see you getting nihilistic at the beginning, but hopefully like that's a stage. Yeah, so okay, I'll say this first. I'm getting to some of the older comments finally, so give me some time to get all that stuff, like to reply to a lot of those comments. Thank you guys for leaving your comments, especially the comments that correct me on things that I say that might not be 100% accurate, and also especially the ones that provide encouragement. We could always use encouragement, and we always love encouragement, so like that's always needed. Like, so thank you guys for those comments. So yeah, like now we're actually talking about the topic here. One thing I was thinking about recently is the whole general post-birth control and floating currencies era of the world that we have all grown up and lived in. Even if you're a boomer, you got assaulted with this change in landscape, for lack of a better phrase, and let me explain that. So let's say you were born in 1946, the first year of the baby boomer generation. Let's say your dad got out of World War II, used the GI Bill to purchase a home in the suburbs, and got it on with your mom quickly in 1945 once he got back to America. So you were taking your first breaths of air in 1946, to put it that way. Let's say you had an alright childhood, possibly dealing with your father's post-war PTSD a little bit. And also the fear of getting bombed by the Soviets. You got through that alright. Then you hit around age 19 or so, Maybe you're starting work. Maybe you're in college. Maybe you're looking for a wife, perhaps. And then bam, the birth control pill comes out in 1965. Shortly after it comes out, it becomes widely adopted. So you already heard about the hordes of teenage girls soiling their drawers when the Beatles came to town in the year prior in 1964. So perhaps you're thinking that this may not be good news if you're conservative. Or if you're more liberal, then maybe you just honestly can't wait to get to college so you can capitalize on it. There's a lot of that thinking too. So the summer of love happens in like 66 or 67. I don't exactly know the exact year. And I wasn't alive back then, obviously. And my parents were barely alive back then, so I don't know all about that. All I know is documentaries. So that stuff happens, and the prominent figures start getting murdered to round out the decade. Some also got assassinated earlier in the decade too, but that would have been like when you were an early teenager. So maybe you were too young to understand the implications of that. Realistically, you're probably too young to understand the implications of the birth control pill too. No one at that point knew that the doomsday that it would cause in the later decades. No one knew that doomsday. But you make it through the 60s in one piece. Now you're around 24 or 25, a strapping young man. Then in 1971, Nixon officially suspends the convertibility of the US dollar into gold. The Nixon shock, as it's remembered today as the official term. Thank you to Rodent's Revenge for telling me about the proper name for it. Thank you for that. So the Nixon shock occurs in 1971, and at this point, you're in your early working years. You hear that it's temporary, so perhaps you're not concerned. If you're an average 25-year-old, you're probably not even concerned with liquidity, capital flows, interest rates, and currencies on a technical level yet. If you ever will be at all, to be 100% honest. Actually, to be honest, a lot of people, maybe some people get into that a little bit, but the vast majority of people never really get into the technicalities of that stuff. So over the course of the 70s, and for you into your 30s, in terms of your age, you're getting into your 30s at this point. As the 70s move on, inflation becomes more and more rampant. You notice that your purchasing power has gone down because basically almost everybody was noticing it at that time. They saw that like inflation was happening. And actually, technically, we'll get into this in other videos, inflation just relatively compared to month, was worse than it is now. At least we have the totality of the 70s to take into account here. We technically don't have the totality of the 2020s to take into account yet. So when you take into the totality of the 70s, it was worse. But the totality of the 2020s may be worse. We'll see what happens. But you notice your purchasing power going down. But thank goodness you have a solid job. Let's say you have a solid job, like for this average person. Then you notice many of the factories closing down in areas across the country. You start learning of manufacturing jobs outsourced to different countries in different parts of the world. Let's say even now, you don't know the implications of this. You went to college, right? And you stayed in school to avoid getting drafted to go to Vietnam. So now you have a relatively comfy corporate job where you can sit down for most of the day and do a number on your pelvic floor and your spine. So now we're in the 80s, and you're in your mid to late 30s, and you really start thinking, okay, I gotta invest in the stock market, because you see it going up rapidly. You hear about computer algorithms running analyses and picking stocks. You're not that smart, so you get your employer or another person to manage your portfolio. So now, a bunch of your capital is held up in a retirement account, and you're forced to stick with being an employee because the market is volatile, as people always say. So let's say it's the 90s now, and you had a couple of kids who are now coming of age. They spent all their time when home from school on this thing called the internet, and they don't talk to you anymore. And you thought TV was bad. I think, what was it? Did they say the what was that song was like the TV killed the radio star, and then the internet killed the TV star. So like that's kind of funny. So you thought TV was bad. Apparently, this stuff was built from a similar technology as those computer algorithms from the 80s, too. So you're like, dang, am I really doing... Is this really going to be, like, recurring theme in my life? Back then, people didn't know how powerful computers would really become, unless you were Bill Gates or something. And even Bill Gates didn't even understand how powerful the internet would become. Maybe only Bezos did, who knows? So I'll end it there in terms of tracking the average person. I'll end this story there. This video could easily be an hour long. It's already one of my longer scripts. Obviously, there's a bunch of different stuff that could have occurred in a boomer's life. Even in a typical boomer's life, there's many different things that could have happened. But I just tried to paint you guys a general picture. The more I'm learning about different things, the more I'm seeing how, arguably, even the boomers honestly got screwed. Each generation, from Generation X to Generation Z, likes to hate on the boomers a bit. And this probably will not end ever, to be honest. But when you start to break it down, maybe we should rethink some of the harsher criticisms at least. A lot of the boomers got whacked by a shifting of landscape as they came of age, and a lot of them never recovered. Technically, MGTOW, more or less as the philosophy, began in some ways in the 1970s. From what I hear from some of the older MGTOW guys, they tell me that people have been thinking this way since the 1970s. But with the proliferation of the internet and like the networks getting better and better over the years, now we can share information so quickly that we can see an exponential rise now in the amount of dudes going MGTOW. And then also the inflation has gotten worse and worse over time too, so unfortunately that's also been a driving force behind a lot of dudes going MGTOW, and then a lot of like younger dudes getting black-pilled, which is definitely a phenomenon that is on the rise. That might not be a good thing ultimately, so like we will keep track of that as that's happening. But yeah, overall, floating currencies and birth control really changed the game. And remember, birth control came out in 1965 and was widely adopted soon after that. The Summer of Love happened a few years after that birth control came out. And you know that Summer of Love, you like how there was no baby boom after the Summer of Love, right? Like, why was that? Like, because people had birth control. Like, technically there should have been a baby boom at that point too. But people had birth control at that time, and people didn't... Like, that was a powerful technology right there. So that came out in 1965. And then floating currencies, that started in 1971. And like I said, the oldest boomer was born in 1946 and was only a teenager when birth control came out, and was only in their mid-20s, the oldest boomer, only in their mid-20s when floating currency started. And like, I'm in my mid-20s now, and like, I'm just learning about all this currency stuff, and I'm considered weird for learning about all this stuff. So you know, most of them didn't, like, the average person doesn't really learn about stuff like this. And you know, we're gonna see kind of a lot of similar things happen to Generation Z. Like, a lot of these people are gonna get screwed. Just looking at like what's gonna happen. I mean, I've already seen, like, I mean, dude, I've already known people to commit suicide, like, just super early. Like, that's already something that's bad. So, and this probably happened to the boomers too. So we can't completely just diminish the experience of the boomers, I guess is what I'm saying in this video. And I'm sure, like, the more I learn, the more sympathetic I might become to the boomers, but it is what it is. Okay, boomer. If any boomers are watching this video, we'll still probably diss on you. Like, it won't be 100%. Just because there's always got to be some intergenerational warfare, like, to keep life interesting, maybe, who knows. But yeah, that's all I got today. It was actually way shorter getting through that. This is like my longest script of all time, I think, actually. But I tried to speak kind of quickly because I knew it was long, and maybe that's why it came out kind of quick. And then there was a story to it too. And then I went off topic, not as much, during when I talked about it. I don't know. Like I thought that was just a whole interesting phenomenon though. So tell me what you guys think in the comments. If you're liking this content, like, share, subscribe. What's the other one? Like, share, and comment. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Yeah, do your thing. And yeah, this channel is growing, so thank you guys, definitely. And I will get to all, like, those older comments. Just give me some time. A lot of the discussion has moved, like, to Discord, so I'm kind of on Discord a lot these days. So, like, bear with me. And if you want to add my Discord, I'll try to post links, but I'm too lazy, but RIYOHA is, like, my name. My name is Romy, so Romy Ioha is my name. So R, which stands for Romy, and then IYOHA, and then hashtag, I think it's hashtag 6047, I think. So yeah, if you want to add me on Discord, it's up to you guys. Like there's like some good conversations that go on there. But yeah, all right, I will leave that here. I will catch you guys later. Yeah, have a good day and have a good night, actually, because I posted this a little bit later than I thought. And yeah, just peace out in general, guys. Like, stay healthy and like don't be too doomsday out there. Yeah, that's it, guys. Peace.